They just wanted a place to sleep, a warm bed, a shower, and a few hours of rest before the long road trip continued. But when Ethan and Claire pulled off that empty desert highway, they found a motel so cheap, so isolated. It didn't even show up on their map. They didn't know it would be the last stop they'd ever make. This is the chilling true story of the motel in the middle of nowhere. It was early September when Ethan and Claire decided to take one last road trip before summer ended. They'd been together 5 years. They loved old diners, roadside attractions, the freedom of driving through endless back roads with no one around for miles. They were driving across the southwestern United States, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. Long stretches of cracked highways surrounded by empty desert and mountains that swallowed the sun by late afternoon. They always pushed it, driving too far into the night until the roads were black and the gas light blinked red. That night, somewhere near the Arizona-Nevada border, they realized they'd gone too far. They were tired, hungry, and running low on gas. They needed to stop. Anywhere. Then they saw it. A crooked old sign, half-lit, flickering in the dark. It just said Desert View Motel Vacancy. No other cars in the tiny gravel lot. The neon buzzed like an insect in the dry wind. It looked abandoned, but the front office door was cracked open, the light inside casting a dull yellow glow. Ethan shrugged. It's just one night. Claire didn't like it. The place felt wrong. But where else could they go? There was nothing for miles. They parked, grabbed their overnight bags, and pushed open the door. Inside, an old man sat behind the desk, motionless, staring at a black and white TV with no sound. When they came in, he turned to them so slowly it made Claire shiver. He barely spoke, just slid an old-fashioned key across the counter, room 7, far into the building. Cash only, no receipt, no questions. The man's eyes were milky, like he hadn't really looked at anything living for years. They took the key. They should have turned around right then, but they didn't. Room 7 was exactly what you'd expect from a desert roadside motel. Stale smell, flickering light, a stained carpet that crunched under their shoes. The bedspread was rough and faded. The bathroom smelled like bleach and something older underneath. But it was a bed. It was late. So they locked the door, dropped their bags, and tried to sleep. At first, the desert wind outside was the only sound. But around 1 a.m., Claire woke to a scratching, soft rhythmic, like fingernails on wood. She thought it was the tree branches hitting the window, except there were no trees, just empty desert. She shook Ethan awake. "Listen, do you hear that?" he groaned, half asleep. The scratching stopped. He told her it was probably an animal. Desert rats, maybe. She lay awake for another hour, staring at the thin curtains blowing in the draft from the cracked window frame. At 3:12 a.m., there was a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. Not loud, but sharp enough to freeze the air in her lungs. Ethan sat up, listening. Another knock, closer this time, like whoever it was leaning against the door. He whispered, "Who is it?" No answer. At another knock. He looked through the tiny peephole. No one was there. But when he flicked the hall light on through the cracked blinds, they saw it. Boot prints, fresh, right in front of their door. Only one set, facing the room. No tracks coming or going. Just prints standing there. Ethan wanted to confront whoever it was. Claire begged him to wait until morning. But the knocking didn't stop. So finally, he grabbed the key, cracked open the door, and the hallway was empty. No sign of anyone. No footsteps, no voices. But the front office light was off. The old man was gone. They grabbed their bags. Ethan whispered, "We're leaving." They ran to the car. The gravel lot was empty, except their car. Ethan turned the key. Nothing. Again, nothing. The engine was dead. They were stranded. They went back to the room. Not because they wanted to, but because they had nowhere else to go. They pushed the dresser against the door, sat on the bed, fully clothed, waiting for dawn. But the scratching came back. This time, it was inside the walls, like something crawling, searching for a way in. Sometimes it sounded like whispers, sometimes like breathing, and sometimes when they dared to look at the bathroom mirror. They swore they saw a figure standing behind them, just for a second, gone when they turned around. At dawn, the scratching stopped. The sun rose over the endless desert. They dragged their bags outside. The old man was back behind the desk, TV flickering. He didn't ask how their night was, just stared with those milky eyes like he'd seen it all before. They called a tow truck. When the driver arrived, he asked how long they'd been at the Desert View. Ethan said, "Just one night." The driver looked at them, dead serious. "This place hasn't been open for years. Nobody lives here. Nobody stays here." Ethan and Claire never talked about what they really saw or what they heard that night. They finished their trip, but they never took the back roads again. If you ever find yourself driving those empty desert highways at night and you see a crooked neon sign that says vacancy, keep driving and don't stop. Because some places in the middle of nowhere are exactly where you're meant to disappear.